Hi, this is Alia Madi, and today I am going to discuss Shakespeare's others, specifically Othello. According to a BBC report, Black people community in England started to form in the Elizabethan era, in the Queen's Elizabeth the first reign. But that does not cancel the fact that Black people actually existed as a minority before the reign of Queen Elizabeth, and consisted or formed an important segment of the early Renaissance structure of community back then. To further prove this fact, we have here a portrait of a Black man whose name is John Blank. He was a musician and he used to play at the courts of King Henry VII and also Henry VIII before Queen Elizabeth. Even though Black people were a very crucial segment of the structure of the Elizabethan or the early Renaissance England, they were not allowed a wide spectrum of civic presentations. They also were not to perform on the Elizabethan stage, although they were present in other forms of cultural display. It was like a perfect coincidence between the social exclusion and the exclusion at the level of dramatic representation. And that also applies to women and mirrors and reflects about the nature of the hierarchy of the society back then. So, with that being said, Shakespeare had no choice but to manipulate or represent the caricature of Othello by employing a white actor and then use or apply the theatrical mimesis. And basically, theatrical mimesis is the concept where actors used to manipulate or adapt certain tools just to create kind of authenticity to the character they are playing. So here we have Richard Burpage, who played the first Othello, and he used chemicals or maybe soot just to black and to change his skin in order to create kind of authenticity whilst playing the role of Othello. It also applies to women roles in plays like cross-dressing and etc. But because of theatrical mimesis and because of the fact that all representations were predicated upon the absence of the thing represented in the instances of race or gender, for example, Shakespeare received a lot of criticism. There's, for example, Coleridge's infamous Veritable Negroes, where he claims that there are no authentic others raised of any kind, only the representation. But I have this quote here that I liked a lot, which says that Shakespeare was more enterprising in this regard than most of his contemporaries by including, fostering, and inculcating a role for characters that were not necessarily important for the mechanisms or the development of the plot, just to stress the fact that they were very crucial part of the society and they were there, and to drive us to question the nature of the hierarchy and the racism that was fostered in that community. Since we brought the nature of the society, the real Elizabethan society, I'd love to talk about the nature of the society in Othello, the play. So he's basically included within the upper echelons of the Venetian state and is defined against the common enemy, the Muslim Turks, by the Duke, a gesture he repeats in his round, unvarnished tale by identifying with European travelers against the bizarre races of his native Africa. So basically, he's always departing from his own origins and from his own race. And his own sense of belonging is now to Venice, although his religious views are ambiguous. So he both is an outsider and an insider. And that is precisely the tension that the play or the tragedy begins to unfold. Basically, Othello employs storytelling as a way of approaching projections and perceptions of race, and also he uses stories to draw his beloved Desdemona to him. So this is a portrait of him narrating the story of his life, which Desdemona liked very much and reacted to. The question of how Shakespeare knew this much about Africa, and why did Shakespeare in the first place fostered or raised those stereotypes to question through his play, is basically said to be was an inspiration from the cosmography and geography of Africa that was written by Leo Africanus, which is the other name of Al-Hasan al-Wazan, who was actually an Arab from North Africa, I think Algeria or Morocco, who was kidnapped from Muslim Andalusian Granada, and then he went to Italy and converted to Christianity. He altered his name to Leo Africanus and recorded stories about Africa, recorded the geography of Africa, which is till this very day still a very detailed description of the geography of Africa. He also brought the issue of, told many stories about African men, Arab men too. And he talked about the jealousy of African or Arab men, and that inspired Shakespeare to create Othello with the hamartia. It did with his hamartia, which is jealousy. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and don't hesitate to put your questions or list them in the comments section. Thank you.